Welcome to Redhead Rewriting Reality by Kim Iverson. The story of my life as I figure out who I am after a lifetime of abuse and share my journey with that. Sharing the story of building my author career, the struggles, bettering self, and creating a new life. I'm a multi-genre author who publishes under Kimberly Sue Iverson. If you'd like to explore my work, visit KimberlySueIverson.com. This audio is intended for an adult audience. Themes and topics may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Now, get yourself comfy and make yourself at home, and let's dive in. I know what I like and who I am. Two things that I've been seeing a lot lately crossing my screen when I check for notifications is a share that includes a psychologist stating that the statement, "If you don't like it, leave," or similar, stating that only an emotionally immature individual will state that. Or that other one I've seen is the one where people will say, "Don't tell everyone what you're doing because it kills your drive." These are statements that upon the initial read and understanding, one can agree on it. But I am going to point out the opposing statement, which is also true. This is one of those things that clearly there are so many different ways to interpret the statements from different viewpoints and more. But this is addressing that underlying stop it aspect. For the first statement, it is said that the emotionally immature people who are not interested in growth will say that phrase. But there is another side to that as well. One is that when dealing with an emotionally immature individual, that is a far more succinct way of simply stating it in a way the other side will understand. You're a grown adult, and if you have problems around me, why are you still here? Make the choice not to be around me. If you're not willing to address issues, and if you're not willing to see who I am and have a decent conversation, then simply go. Because when dealing with the emotionally immature, telling them I will not change the individual I am just to satisfy their comfort level will result in an emotionally charged response often enough. People will share that statement as if the person saying it isn't interested in self-growth, isn't bettering themselves, but there may be a lot of that behind the person's statement. It's a far easier statement to say to someone not willing to understand you and hear you versus having a long, drawn-out conversation they're not interested in having or hearing. It's the quote around not wasting your time explaining yourself to those intent on misunderstanding you or not listening to you. It's assuming that all behavior is a reflection of the individual stating such things, when it may not in fact be that way. When in fact the person saying it may have finally reached that point where they say, "Look, I'm tired of trying to explain myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. So if you don't like it, leave. If something I do makes you uncomfortable and you're expecting me to change my behavior just to appease you or make you feel safer when my behavior isn't wrong, you don't need to be here. You are a grown adult and make your own choices as to who you are surrounding yourself with. It's not simply my responsibility to adjust myself to fit into your box, idea of me, or comfort level because you're not willing to grow. Again, though, there are plenty of examples where that statement is around the person not wanting to say, give up drinking because they enjoy it while the other partner doesn't. I'm not referring to someone not willing to compromise behavior in a relationship. I'm referring to someone expecting you to change a part of your personality just because it makes them uncomfortable. Say, stop being such a homebody because I prefer going out. Say, stop singing to yourself because it annoys me. Stop posting memes of that nature because they're offensive to me. Even though the memes may not be wrong, that person just wants to control your behavior to make themselves feel better. Silly examples, but you get the point. Because they simply want you to change who you are so they don't have to be better and learn to adapt to different individuals. What bothers me usually about that statement is someone is assuming that the individual stating it is in the wrong, isn't the one growing or working on themselves, and not at all looking at it from the context of it depends on who they are dealing with. Imagine me trying to have a long, drawn-out conversation with a child who simply doesn't have the capacity of understanding for what I'm discussing. People often want to criticize other adults as if all of us have the tools to be able to grow and learn better ways of being. And though we do, we may not ever do so. It doesn't make an adult wrong because they don't have the intellectual capacity or emotional self-growth to see they need to learn, grow, and change. And to simply put it, some adults never grow up. They will never be capable of having a deep and emotionally intense sort of conversation. They will not have the capacity to understand that they are emotionally immature, and it's important not to put them down for it, judge them, or act as if they're stupid because of it. I'm not even saying this as a way to be mean to them. It's just an easier way to phrase it to be understood. That's how I often write and speak. I try to make things simplistic. Not because my audience is stupid, but because the brain absorbs things much easier when explained in a far simpler format. Try to read someone using big fancy words just to prove their intelligence, and you'll see what I mean. Even if we know the words, it makes it incredibly difficult to digest and take in a lot of the time unless you're used to reading that sort of writing. I don't want to only reach some elitist 1% crowd of intelligence. Silly. Would you treat someone who medically was like that way? Mentally, their mind didn't work the way another's may, who can see that they are behaving immaturely? If you knew that is, no. You'd have patience and grace with them. Give them the benefit of the doubt. What about a child or an adult whose mind is no longer as sharp as it was? Exactly. We wouldn't. we'd have more compassion and an understanding that not all are like us. I am incredibly sharp, but also incredibly ditzy at times. I'm intelligent, but also not at all, depending on what I'm discussing, doing, or otherwise. I could be brilliant or a fool. I am not a robot at my best 24/7, and no human will be. When we exhaust out, all functions malfunction. I feel we're reaching this really terrible point where we look at another adult and go, "You're pathetic for not doing blank, not knowing this or that, or behaving as you do." At the best of the best line for everything, looks, maturity, smarts, on and on. I'm not saying behavior that's problematic, where it's abusive, overly sarcastic, and immature strictly to harass another and all those common sense things. I'm talking about a regular adult who had never learned what they don't know or how to be a better person. Why is it hard to meet them where they're at? How does it lessen you to step back into trying to understand them and help them how they understand things, instead of quote unquote educating them and talking down to them, making them feel stupid? That does sometimes mean behavior may be a bit immature in how we react and respond to them because they don't know otherwise. It doesn't mean act like a child, but I mean when we speak to them. The way we speak to another has to be how they'll understand us. Using huge words just to appear smart, or lots of big fancy words just to ensure you seem far superior, isn't actually making you better than that other person. It means you too lack the emotional ability to connect. That's, I think, what we need more of. Not the, "Oh, I'm so much more mature than you. I'm so much smarter than you." No, it's coming down to another's level and saying how incredibly smart they are for figuring something out you may have years ago, because they took the time to learn how to do something and may feel incredibly accomplished and proud. Imagine telling a child, "Oh my God, you learned what 2 plus 2 is? Shoot, I learned that so long ago. So obviously you're just stupid and emotionally stunted, ain't ya?" What? You learned to walk today? Well, geez, I ran a triathlon yesterday. Goodness gracious. Like each of us, we're learning at the speed we each are supposed to. We're all doing the best we can and working on the timetable we're each meant to. Celebrating what someone learns doesn't diminish us, but helps the other reach our level. I don't mean that to sound conceited. It's just easier to explain it that way. If we've learned something long ago and they're only just learning, then in a way we're a bit more advanced along the path. So being able to celebrate their wins, put them closer to accomplishing more. It helps them to feel they can and they've made progress. But they too may know something we still haven't learned. We can both always learn from people. And it's true that teachers learn by teaching others. Helping others helps us. So I'm not discussing it from a conceited or "I'm better than you" stance, as much as explaining it in easy terms. It's sort of like people who will talk down to us and constantly act like we know very little So they're always trying to quote unquote educate us on things we may well be an expert with. You know the people I'm talking about. Often they come in the form of a mansplainer or womansplainer even. We are grown adults who don't need to be made even more to feel that our behavior is really effed up and wrong. We have had people doing that for far too long. Guilting, shaming, humiliating. So when someone states to another that if another doesn't like their behavior and simply and succinctly says, "If you don't like me, leave," there may well be a full side behind them we're not seeing. They've reached a space within themselves that will compromise for those close to them, important to them, and who have earned a space in that individual's life. But still, at the same time, it is on the other person not to surround themselves with anyone they think is wrong or off. It is on the other person in that equation to choose to be near us too. If they find us wrong, why are they here? Stop that. I know I've often dealt with individuals who truly believed that I was to alter my entire character just to make them feel better and more comfortable. Abusers and controllers who, rather than adjust their own behavior or accept that I was that way, they expected me to people please and change who I was to please them, diminish myself and lower myself into their box to make sure they didn't have to grow even slightly to better themselves to adapt to the person I was. Even though I was adjusting to accommodate a lot of their needs and wants to the detriment of self. We are reaching such a weird point where too many want to shame and humiliate others versus having genuine discussions. Block them if one of their behaviors bother you. Block them and cut them out of your life if they don't act as you like. Don't have an actual conversation around it. Just delete it and move it along. If they believe different from you, get rid of them. Don't grow and adjust to learn that we're all different, and you can listen and understand another's viewpoint while not taking it on as your own. Why would you dare grow to the point that you can accept another's view though it's different from yours? Hearing someone out and accepting their belief is that way doesn't mean you support it or believe it yourself. We see it with politics now. That same person that you cut out of your life for enjoying the opposite side may very well be the donor who saves your child's life or your own while in the hospital. That person you hate for believing in a politician you despise may well be the one pulling you from a car after you crash, and you're over here saying that that person is evil because you don't have the same values, while you don't realize you do. They appear in different forms, but they are all the same. Like a conservative hating a Democrat for their free thoughts around individual choice, while living that same creed themselves. Or the Democrats saying conservative belief systems are wrong, and yet they live the conservative lifestyle with their partner. Everyone is so hell-bent on seeing each other as evil and dehumanizing each other, and not the real monsters. that they're not turning their attention on the real problems. The abusers and controllers who are making you fill yourselves with hate for others and cruelty to others, separating you from each other, ensuring you don't team up to work together to better life and instead focus on attacking another. And no, I'm not any better than anyone else. I've had my share of moments in that stuff. The amount of people I've seen with each side wish death or sickness on the other just for thinking differently. People cutting each other off versus learning how to be able to discuss their thoughts properly and accept that the other person is coming from a similar stance as you. It's just how we see it is different. We all want safety and security in our lives, and we all would be there for a friend in need, do anything in our power to ease the pain of another if possible. None of us are different in base needs and wants, and yet we are manipulated by abusers and controllers daily into seeing another as the issue. You're stupid. You're the one not willing to work on it. You're the one who won't see my view. You're the one who's doing this to me. You're the one blank. You. Versus I am being mean. I am the one who needs to be kinder. I need to focus on myself and not hating others. It grows tiresome to have grown up being abused and then end up seeing those very same people who think they're against abuse act as the abuser, act as the narcissist did, act as the controller, act cruel and hateful under the guise of kindness and love, under the guise of they're so much better than bullies since they stand up to the bullies by being a bully themselves. Repeat the same mantras that those who abused me and many others often pushed. Make others do it. Use their platforms to shame people, to attack people, to threaten, to send mobs after people filled with hate. Which is where another statement I've seen too much of comes in. I will state before I say this, yes, I am fully aware that people don't mean ill intent when they say this, and yes, it can help those who need to hear it. But then the path to hell was paved with good intentions, wasn't it? Far too many times I've seen the other statement as well as of late. Don't discuss things. Don't talk about what you're up to, because not everyone needs to hear it. It'll kill your drive. Some simply want it to gossip about, talk about you behind your back. What happens is that many of us who've been abused grew up being shamed into silence, because the greatest weapon to the one who abuses and wants to control another is their silence, is ensuring a victim believes they should never discuss themselves, never talk about their life, never open up. The greatest power the abuser has is your silence. So it leads to people further shutting themselves within that bubble of themselves. The greatest power you have over your abuser is your voice and your story. This is something that took me a long time to break free of. Not talking about what I was up to. Not talking about what I had been through. And when I did, yes, I did have people shame me for it. Talk about it behind my back. Guess what? You're going to be talked about no matter what. So you may as well put your own story out there. People will gossip. People will hate on you. People will spread rumors. The whole time I was silent growing up, my mom was the number one enemy I had, who'd spread rumors and lies about me. Others did. Do you know what happened? I felt worse about myself and more disgusting even then. Even then, I battled those feelings because I wasn't open about my own story and told the truth about her. It grew her power over me, and she manipulated more people into being on her side who'd cut me down and talk down to me, who'd corner me and try to shame me for things I never said or did, but that she said I did. I wasn't discussing what I was doing, what I was up to, because if I did, she harassed me, cut me down, made her own stories up about me. It didn't actually do me any good. It was when I finally broke free of that and felt the terror over opening up as much as I did back on MySpace that I found healing in any way. The first time I posted about being raped, the next day I came back shaking and feeling as if I would throw up. I was horrified to get near the computer, let alone read any comments that may have been left. It was one of the most terrifying things to do. Really. And guess what? I did have bad comments in time. I did have people shame me. I did have people be cruel to me. I also met a lot of good people through the blog as well as the site, and I began to feel better. I felt more empowered and strengthened by opening up, talking about what I'd been through. It wasn't even the comments. It was finally cracking that shell and going, I will not be silent anymore. I will tell my story, and if you don't like it, don't read. If you don't like me opening up because it makes you uncomfortable, that's not a me problem, that's a you problem. I will no longer be shamed into silence. If you don't do me wrong, I have nothing bad to say about you. But if you have abused me, I will take back my power and control and tell the truth about what I've been through. I will not talk about the person. I will tell my story about what they did to me, because people need to understand just because you have been living in hell most of your life doesn't mean you need to become that same sort of monster to survive. My kindness and sweetness is innate, but having been through what I did, I do know it has given me the tools to get back up and survive no matter what happens. I have had to rebuild myself and my life so much that I know no matter what, I can do it again if I need to. I have looked into the darkness and seen that hole that will consume me, and daily I live on the precipice of letting it consume me whole. So I have become more accepting of others who have monsters they haven't yet conquered. I don't need to change or fix you, only understand you. I don't need to judge you because I'd have to judge myself. I have grown content in my own company, but that doesn't mean I don't long to find the company of another I can enjoy the aloneness and silence with. What often people don't realize when they share a lot of things online, I am no better, is that others see it who hold struggles that it can affect severely. See? This goes into the above where I say if you don't like it, don't read it. I do work at attempting to be better, and acknowledging the differences in others and try to accommodate. I just won't do it to my detriment. Because a lot of what I'm now doing is being more intentional in what I say, how I behave, the things I do, and not just blindly share something with a general idea to spark conversations, because then I'm not seeing each individual. I know we cannot please everyone, and I have no interest in that. But I am trying to focus more on those of us, there are so many, who have spent their lives being shamed into silence and diminished, and not making yet another shut down and feel worse. I see this whole thing around the male loneliness epidemic. It may be old news to you, or this is your first hearing of it, but I only just heard of it. I only just heard about it. And right there, I know there'd be someone like my mom's voice always in my head who'd snark that, "Oh my God, I've known about that forever. You're so dumb." I've seen people poking fun at men. This is why there is an issue. Men have been slammed again and again, and now that some might be admitting they're lonely, they're further shut down. Don't talk about it. You'll be made fun of, talked about, shamed, silenced. Instead of trying to understand the cause and help people connect more, or just not feel like crap for dealing with that. It takes a lot to be vulnerable and for us to admit how we feel, to be open, to open up. My brother started to watch this series on Netflix around a rape victim who was open about being raped and ended up retracting her statement because of her history with abuse and the way the cops talked with her. Abuse victims, which includes sexual or otherwise, have a solid core feeling of shame and humiliation with opening up. People are going around acting as if trauma is wrong to discuss. You know who that benefits? Abusers. People who want to control your growth. To grow is to open up, to discuss who we are as people. If it makes another uncomfortable because you open up, it's because by hearing about your troubles, they have to grow as well. They have to face what they've been through, what people are capable of, or that you're not as easygoing as they thought. I had this one guy who I opened up to say, "You seemed so normal." Imagine that. I seemed normal, as if being through a lot makes me abnormal. People might use that as a reason for people not to open up, as if me being sweet, kind, and easygoing, but having gone through hell is weird. Why? Will you avoid other negative comments by not being open? No. No matter whether you open up about trauma or normal life, you're going to get negative thrown your way. If you stand for anything, if you try to do anything, if you live life, you are going to face negative comments and feedback. You cannot hide or protect yourself from those things, no matter what you do. If you never talk to another human, go online, and live in a hole in the ground, maybe you can then avoid it. Not so if you read. I'm growing tired of adults shaming other adults as if they're supposed to have all the answers, and to do things their way is wrong. We have cultivated a society around that, while you have the mean girls and jocks around poking fun at everyone for not being like them. Or the nerds who have tons of money looking down on others for being idiots incapable of life because they're not functioning the same. Every human is doing the best that they can, and we need to stop looking at each other as some sort of enemy or having a high school mindset when many of us were not given role models to emulate growing up or even now. We're not all given the proper tools and expected then to behave and act the same as everyone else. I know the person I am, and I know what I like, but that doesn't mean I have myself figured out. I am a work in progress, as is everyone around me and everyone around them. I am proud of you if you are doing so. We all have our own individual mindsets and life experiences that have shaped the people we have become. And there are those having to unlearn a lot of what they did learn because it isn't proper, or are finding out that sort of behavior isn't good. It may come across as immature or emotionally stunted when it's less that and more that too many have been led to believe strength is not showing vulnerability and weakness, especially men, and it's only strength if you're a hardcore, cruel person. The strongest man I've ever known was my father, and he never hesitated to tell my mom how he felt, write her small notes and poems, or otherwise treat her like a romantic man might, even his daughter. He didn't hesitate to do those things, while on the flip side, when he needed to be the strong, solid, stable rock, he did it with ease. We are all capable of helping each other with growth and learning better things. So why is everyone focused on looking down on everyone and focused more on putting them down? Saying this behavior is wrong when it's usually not a bad behavior. Putting someone's head through a window? Bad. Opening up? Not bad. If someone has an idea we disagree with, it's far better to disagree with the idea and remain focused on that. Not these people are evil. Criticize the idea, not the person. When we want to discuss that, we need to ensure we are trying to keep the person out of that equation. That's how people then can listen. Not you're an idiot for believing that. Instead, ask why they do. What's at the heart of it? And have a conversation around why you disagree with that idea and where you're coming from with it. Too many are so defensive and argumentative that you cannot even have a decent conversation with them, especially when the defensive triggers are activated. But remember that it is also up to us and how we control our own. We cannot expect another in a reactive state of mind to remain so while we're screaming and losing our business on them. We too have to focus on taking a pause, finding that pause between emotional reactivity and responsiveness for connection. Does just anyone need that? No. If I get some dude wandering up on me, poking fun at me for something I do normally, and others around me are used to, you think I'm going to be some Zen master who discusses behavior and actions with him? No. I'll likely tell him to go sit down in the child's corner where he belongs, if I react at all. I'm not some saint who has it all figured out and reacts all the time in decent ways. Sometimes I behave like a child, sometimes a grown adult. It depends on who I'm talking with, whether I want the connection with them, and I take into context the moment. And still, I can often read it wrong and royally screw up. I am not perfect. I am still learning, growing, and trying. I find something important to me right now, though, is to focus more on those who may see what I say and feel more ashamed or wrong for their beliefs. Am I good at it? Perfect? No. Can I please everyone? I'd be a fool to think so. But I also know that I'm trying not to constantly make others feel like stepping over that precipice and into that dark hole that always looms for some of us is a good idea. It isn't something I'll purposely do. When I focus on someone, I am not trying to make their day worse or give in to that base animal within me trying to nitpick me. I want to help others to do better, get better, or inspire them to try to be better for those around them. I'm not walking around demanding everyone do it, but I'm not willingly going to throw someone into that dark abyss either if I can help it. You are not weak for being vulnerable. It takes strength to be vulnerable. Tell your story. You just might be the voice that another needs to hear to save their life, and then go on to do what you just did. What happens is that abusers no longer hold the power because people get wise to their actions and hold others accountable for what they do. It empowers the victims to once more take their strength back, and eventually we may see a shift because those in power prefer us weak, hiding, shamed into silence, fighting one another instead of forming a group against them. They're bullies, and bullies cannot stand when the victims stand up together, not to turn into a bully themselves, but to simply stand strong, even if all they can do is tell their story. Telling your story changes people. Every story we hear changes us. Being open about your experiences can show what people go through. I am always happy to share yours anonymously too. No, you don't need to tell everyone everything. But if it's making you miserable and shut within yourself, understand if you don't feel well, it could be a cause. It's what I think led to my body shutting down on me. Part of it, at least. I shrunk within myself. Well, I'm not doing that. Wanna belittle me? Go ahead. Wanna try to destroy my life? Go ahead. Wanna attack my career? Me? Go ahead. It will hurt. I may once more go downhill. And though this time was really hard to pull myself out of, I will eventually come up for air. Because all I need to do is stand up one more time. When I do, I'll once more begin to tell my story, begin to open up, and not be silenced into shadows and shame. Humiliation for being me, and once more I will regain ground lost. It's what I've had to do all my life, even with my work, even with my career. I had to pivot, and once more I'm clawing my way from the ground up. I've done it plenty, so I know you can too. And there's a level of dangerous empowerment in things like that. Having your entire life destroyed and beginning to rebuild it. It means that you can always do it again. You know you're capable of it. And that is empowering in its own way. On the other hand, you stop settling for less than. You start realizing maybe you are worth more than they led you to believe. Maybe, just maybe, You truly are something incredible in your own right and deserve to be heard, treated better, and not always feel exhausted and worn down from those small, draining battles, like trying to be yourself and always being told it's wrong. Be you. Be authentically you. More to come. Thank you for reading and subscribing. I'm beyond grateful you chose to spend this time with me. What are your thoughts? Engage with me and start a conversation. Just don't be rude about it. And as always, your shares are so incredibly appreciated. Share with anyone you think may enjoy this. Word of mouth is the best form of expanding the reach, so this reaches the eyes and ears of whoever may enjoy it. My donation link, if you found value in this and would like to support me to help keep this going, is ko-fi.com/Kimberly Sue Iverson. That's ko-fi.com/Kimberly Sue Iverson. Every little bit helps. So thank you for your generosity. Remember, kings and queens, everyone is fighting battles inside nobody can see. Who are you willing to see today? And who are you willing to let see you today? I hope someone can bring a smile to you today, or you can bring a smile to someone else. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you are more than welcome to, and I'd love to connect you there. For Instagram, Facebook, and Threads, I have to use Kimberly Sue Iverson. There is also a page for Redhead Rewriting Reality on Facebook, but for X, Twitter, Blue Sky, Telegram, and most other socials, you can find me under Kimber Bites. That's KIMBERBITES, which is what I normally use. Do you like Snapchat? Feel free to add me under Feisty Kitty. That's FEISTYKITTY. I usually try to use the same picture across the board, but you can always ensure you have the right person by checking my website link cave, which is KimberlySueIverson.com/linkcave. Want a chance for your story to be featured? Whether you're an author starting out, published and want a boost, have a tale of old to tell that has been passed down through family, or just want to share your own life experience, get in touch. Email storiesToRead@KimberlySueIverson.com. That's storiesToRead@KimberlySueIverson.com. Stop posting memes of that mature.